Oh dear. So here we are. Here we are again. I'm really only turning up now for Annie, I think. Because Annie, if I don't turn up for Annie, I don't know what Annie will do with her weekends. So hopefully you're going to enjoy this one, Annie. I'm definitely going to enjoy this one because this is Carole Berry. And I've had a couple of chats with Carole before coming on live, and I absolutely love Carole's work. Carole kind of happened upon us through exhibiting in the Royal West of England Academy and becoming aware of Louisa's work, Louisa Crispian, and then following us that way. And then you were saying to me, weren't you, you saw my interview with Micah from Freya. So Freya. She's got two names, Micah or Freya, and from Amsterdam. And you loved it, and that was it. You were all in.
I was hooked by pure.
Purely hooked.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So that's it. I'm not going to find out anymore. This lady can interview Freya like that. That's what I'm.
So yeah, and I loved that. I loved that interview. And it's interesting because different people have seen different interviews, and then they've gone, oh, like the Ryan Stanio one, Richard Heaps and Eleanor saw that one, and they were like, oh, love it, we're all in. So it just goes to show, you know, just showing up and, you know, doing something new in lockdown. Look what happened.
Yeah, I know.
We're all sitting here now having these amazing experiences of listening to these awesome stories. And big news from yesterday, Stephen McGuinness, I actually, as a result of his show, we actually sold a couple of pieces of work. So we've sold one definitely today. So hopefully the client's watching, he'll be chuffed. And then someone else, we've sent some images, so we'll see what happens with that. So no, that was so exciting. It was instant. So, and also he mentioned Castlefields Gallery, and I thought I must find this and contact them. So I called my daughter, who is living in Manchester, and she said, Mum, I live in Castlefields. So I was like, okay, tomorrow on your daily walk, you have a challenge to go and find this gallery. So I'll let you know. If she finds it, I'll let you all know, because I think that's so exciting. And Carole, you went to the same art school, didn't you?
I was at Manchester Polytechnic, and as he was talking, I thought, I recognise these places that he's talking about. And then I was sort of looking at him, I was thinking, I reckon he's about the same age as well. So I contacted him afterwards and said, you were at Medlock. I was over the really busy road in the Cavendish building. And he went, yeah, I didn't go there. And I went, no, and I didn't go to Medlock. You know, the fine art department and the fine art embroidery was actually two different things. I think the Students' Union was the place where we would meet up. But yeah, just really interesting. Yeah.
On the opposite side of the road.
Yeah, it was like one of these high roads, what they call it, like an overpass.
Like a flyover.
Flyover, yeah. Like I think it was the M62 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really
wow.
interesting.
So small world.
Yeah.
And you
but
now
there was
you now live in Cirencester.
I live in a tiny village halfway between Cirencester and Cheltenham, and it is a tiny village, and it's beautiful. And I live here, and I built my studio on the side of the house, so I just have to walk to work. I leave the house through my garden, might get detracted into the allotment, which is just through the garden gate, and I can go in the studio, and I can also walk straight out into the fields, which is lovely.
How lovely.
Beautiful.
You have a dog, don't you?
No, I've got a cat.
You've got a cat?
No dog.
Does your cat walk with you?
No, she doesn't.
She's too old. Mine follows me. So if I take the dog for a walk, the cat comes, and it gets very alarming.
She comes in here. She's in here.
It gets
if
really
I'm doing
alarming.
anything that she likes getting up on things. So if I'm doing something that's really clean, she can't come in, and then she sits on the log store and peeps in the window at me and
meows at
you. It's just me, Ronnie, that's my husband,
you and Ronnie,
and Ziggy the cat. Yes.
Oh,
so,
that's fabulous.
Yeah, it is. It's really high as well. We're very high elevation, so it's one of the highest points in Gloucestershire and in the Cotswolds.
Okay.
So
you're on
cold.
the Cotswolds. So when I lived, because we were talking about this, weren't we, when we had a chat earlier, not today, but in a previous time, I lived on the Cotswold Ring, and I lived in a place called Oving near Waddesdon.
Yeah, that's further east than me, I think.
Yeah.
Is that further going Oxfordshire way? Is that
Yes, yeah. And we were we were at the highest house, so we could see forever.
Yeah.
Probably almost to your house.
Yes. It's been cold
there
today.
Anymore. Oh, it's been really chilly, hasn't it? It's been super chilly today. I'm wearing. People will notice. I started off these talks in a t-shirt.
I know. It was tragic. Oh.
And now I'm in a proper jumper today. Yeah, I have got the t-shirt on, but now I had to layer up later on today because I was like, I'm frozen. What has happened to the weather? They need to bring it back.
We walked over the fields and I had gloves on today. It was so cold.
Really?
It's crazy.
Wow.
So gloves and a hat because the wind was so strong.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
We've seen all seasons, haven't we?
We have lockdown across the seasons, and all the leaves are coming down, aren't they? Which
definitely
is a very good segue into your work, because there's a lot of feathers and
trees and landscapes and yeah.
So first of all let's have a quick look at your page in the magazine, so people know how to contact you, because I think they'll want to contact you when they see your work. It's exquisite. Be prepared, people. There we go. So, as you can see there, you can see the drawings. Oh no, I've shown your website, Leslie Sands. Come on now. Sorry, people. See, Carole said to me, you must be getting tired now. And I was like, no, I'm fine. And then I show your website. So there we are. There is the ART360 magazine. So this is where you go if you want to find all the information about all the artists and how to contact them. So Carole is on page 62, and there she is. There's the lovely Carole. So a little sneaky peek of the work that we're going to be talking about, and that's how you can email Carole. There's her website, which I just showed you, and as you saw, was absolutely gorgeous. And then she's got Facebook, she's got Twitter, and she's got Instagram. Brilliant. And she's doing a live. So we know that because you're right here, right now. It'd be slightly awkward if you weren't, because it would be like, she's doing a live, and where is she? So I'm going to, and I've very quickly then just prior to that showed your website, but I think we'll look at your website as we talk about your work. So we'll come back to that. I gave you a teaser. I gave everyone a teaser. So I'm going to hand over the stage, as I always do, so people can properly see your lovely studio and all your work around you. There we go, because they don't want to look at me anymore. They must be sick to death of looking at me by now. It's all right, people. Molly is back tomorrow. The beautiful and fragrant Molly is back on your screens tomorrow, so you can have a break from me.
Lovely.
But where did it all start for you, Carole? Where did this journey into an artist, where did that all start?
Well, thank you. It's been an interesting time to actually look back at it, seeing what the other artists have been saying. And actually, I was, it's gone very quiet. Is that just because you've muted?
I mute.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
yeah,
that's fine. You.
Yeah,
I
that's
can
good.
see and hear you. I mute my mic so that any background noise doesn't affect you.
Lovely. Okay. So I grew up in South Gloucestershire, and a really happy childhood, and it was a house filled with music. My mum and dad just sang and played the piano and were just lovely, and dad was also a carpenter and made anything. So mum would say, oh, could I have this, and it would appear. And my mum just made clothes and was just very clever and taught me to sew. And I remember using a Singer hand machine when I was about 8 or 9 and making clothes for my dolls. And Mum would go, yeah, just do it. Here goes some material. And I did. And I just loved making. And I think because Mum and Dad were always very, yeah, you can do it, you know, it was very easy to make and know that I could do it. And my brother was the same. He made, and he was very musical. I'm not musical. That sort of passed me by. completely. So at school, my favourite subject was needlework. It was called needlework in those days, and geography. Um, I did like art, but I was very unsure because my brother was very good at drawing, so he always was better than me in one way. So I was quite happy just to sew and to make, and I loved geography, absolutely loved it. And so it was always a bit of a debate what I was going to do when I went to university or whatever. But the needlework, and by that time, my A levels, drawing, was beginning to win. And my mum and dad, bless them, they encouraged me to apply for the foundation course at Cheltenham. And that was pretty dodgy. You know, my brother had gone into a very safe career. He's a little bit older than me. And this, didn't really know what it was going to lead to at all. So I had a great year at Cheltenham.
That was quite a thing at that time, I would
Yeah,
have thought.
yeah, it was. And I was good at sewing and I was good at drawing, but I wasn't interested in fashion. And I came across this course at Manchester, which is fine art embroidery, and was blown away by it. And I thought, that's what I've got to do. So I applied and I got in. And it was just a very interesting course. Learned about the history of embroidery and every embroidery technique. But there was a very, very strong emphasis on drawing and the reason why you should be an embroiderer in the 20th century. And I was hooked, and I've done it ever since. I haven't ever stopped sewing or drawing. Sometimes it's sewing more, sometimes it's drawing more, sometimes bits of both, but they feed one another. So I can't make my paper textiles without the drawing. It just wouldn't happen. I guess it was in my third year that I started really experimenting with fabrics. They didn't do what I wanted them to do. They stretched and they frayed, and fabric being fabric was tactile in that. And I wanted to draw on it, and I wanted to make it quite rigid and do things that fabric wouldn't really want to do. So it was at that point I was using resins, glass fibre, glues, all sorts of things. And I did some quite large environmental pieces that just filled rooms, and finished my degree and moved to London. And the reason I moved to London was my husband was starting the Royal College of Art. So we moved to London, and I had about 4 or 5 years where I just worked solidly on my textiles and drawings. So I got accepted to the British Craft Centre, it was called then, and I was involved in a paper exhibition, which is really exciting. And as I left Manchester, I was invited to become a member of the 62 group. And 62 group is an offshoot from the Embroiderers Guild, and is a group of textile artists. And at that time, textile art was not considered a fine art. It was still, if you did anything to do with sewing, you were in the craft. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but it wasn't accepted as fine art. So we were a group of mainly ladies, but not all, there were some men as well, who really, really tried to break the boundaries of where art and textiles could meet. And it was really exciting. New to London, new out of college, I got involved with the committee and I loved it. I met some really, really interesting people that were on the committee, and they were encouraging, and it was good. We showed in some lovely places. There was, I remember the Victoria Art Gallery in Bath, it was Guildford, it was Birmingham, it was Hampton Court Palace, which was beautiful. That was the ballroom. And then the lady that was at the time the chairperson, Julia Caprara, she managed to engineer a tour and exhibition to Japan. And that was incredible because they produced a book for us. And the work that I had in that was a little bit like these. These were really long pleated paper pieces. By that time, I was working with tissue paper. Tissue paper, you could buy really large pieces in the ream, and it's normally a utilitarian paper. It's used to wrap up things, it's thrown away. It would be layering textiles or whatever. So to stitch it and to paint on it and varnish it and make it something beautiful and lasting was what I was trying to do. I was incredibly interested in standing stones and geological features. My geography's never really left me. And I was doing pieces, trying to tell a story within these pieces. And
You were saying.
Yes, sorry.
You were saying that this 62 group was trying to break boundaries. Was one of the?
Yeah.
Was that the Japanese going to Japan? Do you think that was one of the key?
Yeah, that was.
It
was really interesting. Yeah, really interesting, and it toured. If I remember right, I think it toured in like department stores. I guess it must be something perhaps like, I don't know, Harrods, Selfridges, something like that. You know, where they would have galleries, and the owner of these stores is who sponsored it, if I remember right. I think that's what it was. And it paid for Julia Caprara and a couple of other committee members, I think, to go out. Not me, sadly. And it was very well received. And it sort of set our sights higher. And we were breaking ground, very much breaking ground. I won an award, a travel award, to go up to the Isle of Lewis to work and draw the standing stones at Callanish. So I prepared all of that, got accommodation, got all the travel and everything. And at the same time that was happening, I had a one-woman show in Covent Garden, a small gallery called Anatole Orient, sort of closed in the late 80s. And that was showing these, that was one of the photographs that they did for their publicity. So they were big. I mean, they are 8 foot long, just pleated tissue paper, just miles and miles of stitching, row upon row upon row.
Did they stand up then, like a standing?
No, hanging. So but actually hanging. So they would be hanging against the wall. At the same time, I got this travel grant. I had the exhibition, and my husband at that point had finished at the Royal College of Art and got the job as leading the foundation course at the National Art School in Papua New Guinea. So we upped sticks and we went and we had our adventure and lived in Papua New Guinea. So I never actually got to the private view of my one-woman show. He was lovely about it. I went to Papua New Guinea instead. And a friend, a very good friend, looked after the work, and some of it sold, some of it didn't, and she took it away with her. And the travel grant, I said to them, I'm going to have to give this back to you. I can't go. And they said, no, keep it and tell us all about what you find in Papua New Guinea. So I was writing. Yeah, it was lovely, actually. They were really, really generous of them. Yeah. So I wrote back to them about there's not much textile work in Papua New Guinea. It's so hot and humid, it rots. There's quite it's a bit like crocheting. You make these bags, net bags called billums, which are beautiful. They're really lovely patterned pieces, very colourful. So I wrote about those, and I wrote about the bark cloth, similar to what you get in Australia, so like tappa cloth, and I wrote about those. And that was really nice to be able to write back and tell them about that.
And your husband was running the foundation course.
Yes. It was just outside the capital, Port Moresby, the only art school in Papua New Guinea. And it did run along the lines of a British art school. So there was a foundation course, and then there was a 3-year, they didn't call it a degree, I can't remember what it's called now, diploma, I guess. And he ran the foundation course, and we lived on site. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful valley. We had a lovely house, a really old house on stilts, and it was just fabulous. But it gave me the opportunity to draw and to work in a way I hadn't been able to, because I'd worked in the mornings to support this masters that Andrew was doing. So it was really good that I didn't have to do that. So I did do
liberating.
It was, yeah. So I was sending work back to the 62 group, I said, but it was becoming increasingly difficult to send it back, and I was sending more to Australia and just getting involved in Papua New Guinea. It was just a lovely, lovely place to be. We went on quite a lot of photographic tours, taking photographs for the museum, and it was just lovely. We had our first daughter. We were there for 3 years. So our first daughter was born there, which was really exciting. And then we came home, and he started to work at Ravensbourne College in South London. So we set up our home there. Our second daughter was born, and that was lovely. Loved having the girls.
Was the 62 group still going on when you came back?
Yes, and it was, and I was still sending, but not as much. I mean, I was 2 young girls and loving having them, so I didn't send quite as much. I still had links to it was called Stitch Design, which was a small embroidery workshop and cookery centre that was in the Isle of Dogs, and I was still slightly involved with that and doing a little bit for them, curating exhibitions and what have you. So that was good. And then we moved to Tunbridge, and the girls then were starting school, so got involved with the school, and I started working in a way that fitted in with having young children and a family. And so I started doing oil monoprinting, because I could leave it and go back to it. And at that time, I was working with fossils. I've managed to find a couple of fossil pieces that I was doing. So these were monoprints, paper cutouts and printing and negative, positive. So that was one. Just looking at the different sorts of rocks.
Still this geography, you've still got geography, haven't you? Still there.
And I was stitching, this one's a little stitched one, so that's just got some machine stitching on it, and that I was using to print with. So that's sort of become quite beautiful in its own right, but actually I got quite a few prints on it as well. So that was going on, and I worked for the O's Theatre in Tunbridge, and was just quite happy just poodling around and just getting a bit of a portfolio together of newish work, which was good. I did a lot of work with the school, with their art club, and times change, don't they? Different things.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's how life works, isn't it? So the 62 group had kind of stopped by then, had it?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I was trying to remember how long. I think I must have been in it for about 12 years. I mean, it's going really strong now. It is incredibly strong. It's a really, really important group for textiles. But then, 62 group, what did I do then? I was working with the Commonwealth Institute a little bit. I was doing work with them about Papua New Guinea, so that was quite interesting work. And then I remarried and moved to Gloucestershire. So the girls were older, one going into A levels, one midway through secondary school, and we all moved to Gloucestershire to be with Ronnie, which is where I still am, and it's lovely. And the girls
is Ronnie involved in the arts?
No, he's not at all. He's an engineer, and just is very supportive and very encouraging. That is really great, and keeps me grounded, and reminds me I have to eat sometimes, and reminds me to go for walks and to stop sometimes. So that
he sounds perfect as an artist, as an artist's kind of support network.
Definitely.
We're terrible at that eating thing, aren't we?
Yeah,
it's like
definitely.
Completely forgotten to eat today.
Yeah. So we we've enjoyed going places, and I've been drawing a lot to do with birds in flight, and this is quite an interesting area because not far from here is Slimbridge, which is a bird centre. Can't remember what it's called. Sorry. And every year the Buick swans migrate back here. So every year I go down and look at these swans and draw them, and that is where some of this work has come from. So if I spin you round, there's one. I have to pick it up actually.
I think you might have to, yeah.
I might have just put this book down. So this one is a drawing of swans with. Oh, it's not really showing, is it? I don't know.
You
may
need to bring that to the camera.
Yeah.
As opposed to the camera to it.
To it. It's very big. I can't actually.
Oh.
Have I got a little one? I might have a little one. All right. One very small one.
There you are. You can, if you bring that,
there
we can see it.
That's a similar sort of technique. So this is using a paper template, which is the shape of the swan, and then I've used charcoal dust, which I've brushed against the template. I've kept moving the template round and getting this depth of the swans returning to Slimbridge every year. 3,000 miles they fly.
Wow.
And they come as family groups, and they look after each other. And unfortunately, as they come back over parts of Siberia, Russia, and some of these sort of places, they get shot at. People think it's really great to shoot them. So if you lose some of your family members, you've lost that imprint of where to go. So if you lose the parents, then the young birds don't know where to go. So it's been very, very sad to see that these birds are reducing in numbers.
Yeah.
But Slimbridge is an amazing place for them. So I did an awful lot of work about the Buick swan, and at the same time that I moved here, I got in touch with a place called Nature and Art, which is a museum and art gallery just outside Gloucester. And it's a place completely dedicated to nature of any form in the arts. So there's 3-dimensional and 2-dimensional work, and they've got a really eclectic collection of artwork. So they've got some really interesting galleries which are changed around quite regularly. There's an amazing Picasso of a little lizard, a little gecko, and sometimes this Picasso is placed next to somebody of our age, and they're just beautiful how he puts them together. And the director, Simon Trapmell, he's quite incredible because it's a really big house, but they've got this orangery on the side of it, and every week of every year he has a different artist in there as an artist in residence. So for the last, I don't know how many years, I've had a week there at different times of the year, and you're given this studio and you just work. And as long as you're polite to the public when they come in, which is not hard, because they're coming because they want a nice day out. So you've already got them hooked, really. And it's been a really, really lovely relationship.
Do you have interaction with the other artists that do the residencies there?
Sometimes I'll go down and see them. There might be a wood carver, or there might be a painter. There'll be all sorts of people. Sometimes I've just drawn. Sometimes I've done my paper textiles. So every year I've done something different when I've been there. I've met some really interesting people, and through that I was invited by Nature and Art to be part of Art in Action. Do you remember Art in Action at Perry Gardens?
Yes, I do.
I was a demonstrator there for 3 years under the umbrella of Nature and Art, and that was absolutely amazing. I met some really, really interesting people. It's just such a privilege to be able to talk about your work to people. And I would also have the sewing machine, so I'd be there sewing away, and people would just be fascinated. So you could just sew little samples, just something just really small that you can just have it, or charge a small amount for, and absolutely lovely. And it also promoted nature and art.
I'm just sad I'm not there right now because I could get you to do. Could you do a feather? Carole, could you do a feather for me?
I love
I'll just have that then.
No, amazing to do. So anyway, there were all of the birds and that developed. So that one, I think you can see that one.
Yes.
So all of these are appliqued birds. That's a type of embroidery where you stitch around, and then normally with fabric you would hem it under, but with paper you can just stitch around and then tear away because it perforates it, and you're left with your bird on it. So perfect, really good. And from those, looking at the swans, I started then looking at the feathers. Just individual feathers, and thought, I think I can make those. So those I have started to make. No, they start.
These are just exquisite. They're like
these
precious little jewels. Oh no!
These start with a whole piece of paper, and then I stitch on them. Is that coming up?
Yeah.
Sort of like that, maybe. They've got machine embroidery on them, and again, you can tear it away. So it is so nice tearing down these little perforations, and you're left with the whole feather.
Oh, look at that!
Really time consuming, and then I paint them, and I do use oil paint on them actually, because the oil paint will help them to dry in the position that I can put them.
Here is your Blue Peter moment.
So this one is painted, and this one is painted. Oops. In colours which I found I was inspired by really old work by Duccio, and he paints usually quite religious paintings, but there's some in the National Gallery. There's one where it's the Annunciation, and it's Mary being told by Elizabeth that she's going to have a baby. And there's the most amazing turquoises, salmon pinks, terracottas, and gold. So this is my homage to.
And is it always machine stitched, or do you do hand stitching as well?
These are machined, but the feather pieces that I've been doing recently, these ones, the one on the wall is one I've just finished this week and waiting to go to the framers. But this was the sample that I made for it. So they start with...
They're just exquisite,
Carole. That's a paper cutout of the feather, and there's, I don't think you can really see. There are some markings on it actually, which just put across with some marker pens, which is just slightly graded.
Right on the tip, something on the tip.
Real gold.
Real gold.
Oh, it is.
I'll just have that. Just
yeah, it is. And there's nothing quite like it. Dutch metal is no good. It's got to be gold.
And what is that, like the leaf, or is it?
Yeah.
You dip it. It's
the
leaf.
So it's using a size which I brush on with a really fine paintbrush. Leave that to dry, and then you put the gold leaf onto that size. It's really accurate. You can put it exactly where you want to go, and it only sticks on the size. And the more you put on it, the richer it becomes. So
you can let so more size, more gold.
No, you only need one lot of size, and then gold on gold on gold on gold. It sticks to itself, and it just gets richer and richer. So any calligraphy that you see, and it was a calligrapher that taught me how to do it, called Josie Brown, and it was her that said you just keep building it up. So it doesn't tarnish, but if it looks like it needs it, you can just keep putting it on and it sticks to itself. But it's just beautiful. It's beautiful material to work with. And when I first started learning how to use it, I thought, well, I better not use it, it's expensive. And so I was using the imitation, and that's really difficult to work with, and it just looks cheap. I'm sorry, it does.
Yeah.
It hasn't got that richness. This is really interesting because if you get the light on it, sometimes it looks black, sometimes it looks gold. It just has got a life of its own. It's lovely.
Isn't it lovely how artists share their methods and
she
share
was
their
so
learning?
generous. Yeah. You know, that was a really interesting. She invited me to go and talk to the Gloucestershire Lettering Association, and I said, well, why do you want me to talk? And she said, because of your processes. And she said, calligraphers have got processes. So I went and gave this talk. And do you know, this lady came up to me at the end, elderly lady, and said, I know you. And I went, oh, hello, you know. And she said, I taught you A-level needlework. And I went, Barbara? And she said, yes. And you know, this lady, I still don't know how she swung it with the head teacher. She ran an A-level course of needlework just for me. That's how good I was.
Wow.
I can see it now. I didn't know it at the time. I can see it now.
Yeah.
And
you are stunning. and great. And how amazing that lady saw that and invested in you, because who knows what would have happened otherwise.
And actually since then I've met her lots of times because she goes to Nature and Art a lot, and so I've met her at Nature and Art.
So her name is Barbara. A shout out for
Barbara Mitchard.
Barbara Mitchard.
Yeah, she's the same age as my mum. She's 90, and she is still, you know, she's still singing, and she's still playing musical instruments, and she's doing a lot of calligraphy. She's still sewing, and I know when I was about 17 and 18. I used to go to her garden workshop and help make the bridesmaids' dresses, because she was always making brides' dresses and bridesmaids' dresses. And she trusted me to make these bridesmaids' dresses.
I'm not surprised.
I didn't know what I was doing. But it was amazing.
Don't tell anyone, Carole, but I've got no clue what I'm doing, okay?
Anyway, these some gold ones. These were on the little film.
Hopefully no one's watching us chatting.
I know I'm forgetting there could be people out there.
No, there's no one there.
No,
there's no one there.
So, yeah, they'd be really beautiful.
Hold those up again.
Very time consuming.
So they look like they've got like another layer on them, don't they? They look.
Yeah, so they've got a lot of brown pigment in the oil paint, and then they're varnished so that the size doesn't soak in, and then the gold leaf. So they're really, really long processes. But I think as artists we need those different processes because that's our thinking time. So invariably when I'm doing these, there's a notebook or a sketchbook and I'm thinking. And I think certainly the older I get, my neck hurts, my back hurts, and I can't sit at the sewing machine for a long time. So that is my drawing time, and I'll go out and do lots and lots of drawing. Sorry, you asked about hand stitching. All of these are then hand stitched on. So it's a double stitch, and then they're knotted on the back.
But that's just your sample. That's not even one that you've done for a.
No, that was working out the radius of the circle where I'm going to stitch them on.
And so that ended up as this piece up on the wall behind you.
Up on this wall, yeah.
Or can we get any closer to that?
Shall we see? Shall we see?
If we can get any closer. Let's see if we can get closer to that, because that is. Look at that. Wow. That's
just catch the gold on it,
Yes,
you might just see the lines on it as well.
Wow.
So that's been cutting them. Each one is cut individually, and there's
how many do you think there are?
I think it's 166 feathers in it, and each one, and it took an hour to sew 15 on. So it takes a long time.
And each feather, to create each feather, How long does it take to create each feather?
Each feather, I did write that down actually. Yeah, they took a long time to cut out. That was a good 2 hours cutting them out, and then another couple of hours to put the marker pen on them, and then good 2 hours to do the size, and then another 2 hours to do the gold.
So it's about a day per feather.
It's a long time. Yeah.
Gosh. So that with 100 and hang on, I need my calculator.
Oh.
So you've got a day per feather, and you've got how many feathers? 150. 150 days.
Yeah, long time.
I presume you're charging about £1 million for that then.
So there's one that's framed. I use a really clever framer in Cirencester, Chris Smith at Creative Framing. And
you'd need someone who really worked with you, wouldn't you?
He's been brilliant. There were some of the pieces I was doing when I first started about birds, and they were flat circular pieces with paper cutouts and lines of stitching, and they needed light behind them. And he very cleverly floated the textile on a piece of glass and then set the piece of glass within the box frame, because textiles should never be against glass. It squashes and you lose that lovely uneven surface. And he very cleverly
Do you use museum
sandwiched.
glass?
I've started to. I didn't to start with. This one isn't, but the latest piece that I've done, which is a drawing, and I'm going to go this way. This one won't shine. See, look at that. No shine.
Glass.
Yeah. So that's the way forward.
And that shows your mark making, doesn't it? That shows the stitch. You know when people say, like we were saying yesterday, Stephen's was very painterly. Your drawings are very stitcherly, aren't they? The way you make the marks has that stitched quality to them. Is that something that you've developed?
Yeah, I think it's like your handwriting, isn't it? It's like your signature. You try to do things in a different way, and you can't. It's always with you. This little piece is, well, it shouldn't be here. It should be in a real exhibition. It's part of the Derwent Art Prize, and it's one of 70 pieces that's currently online, but is going to the Oxo Gallery, London. I've been in contact with them this week. It could be in the new year, and then it's going out to Paris. But yeah, that was lovely.
So it's going to be a very well-travelled picture.
Yeah. But
so if people want to see that, they can go online for the Derwent Prize. They go online
for the Derwent Prize, and it's
they can see it. Yeah.
So
and do you have any others on exhibition at the moment?
What else have I got on exhibition?
Online, presumably.
Yes, there's the Painters Stainers, and now that's an old association, old guild of painters, and they have an open exhibition every year. And they decided not to do it as an open exhibition, but have it as that anybody could send in images and they would have them on their website. So because I'd entered previously, I got the email to say, would I put some pieces in? So, and they were set in a price at £300. So £300, you could buy a drawing, absolute snippet price. And the artist gets £200.
Painter stainers, you say?
Stainers. Yes, painter stainers.
Everyone quickly get on that website.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How many pieces have you got on there?
I've got 2 drawings, and one is a little bit like. It isn't this one. It is on my website, but can we stretch? It's a little bit like. That one up there. Right. Oh, I can't see it.
Can't really see it.
No. But these sort of landscapey ones. So there's 2 of those.
And are you exhibiting your feathers anywhere at the moment?
No, they are waiting. Oh. They are waiting. No, they're not. They should have been, but they're not. So they will go. I'm associated with the Cheltenham Christian Arts Festival, which is every 2 years, and they will go to that in the springtime, so, with some drawings that are associated with them as well. So
but if people are interested in your feathers, they can contact you directly.
They can just contact me.
They can just contact you.
Contact
and obviously,
me, yeah.
You could send me a couple of samples, so if people need to contact me, they can see them here. They are just stunning, and the time. I think that that raises that question of pricing, because that's something that artists are always talking about, which is pricing. And when you think about, you can't price something like that based on hours, can you? Because if that's 150 days at 7 hours a day, it would be millions of pounds. So how do you come up with a price?
I think you have to be fairly realistic, and with my textiles, I have just started pricing them more. At one time, I just was glad if I could sell them, and then I'd feel,
yes, the classic.
Yeah,
I feel disappointed that I sold them.
Yeah. So now, and I don't sell many of them. I don't. I mean, I sell drawings. Drawings are much more accessible. People can understand a drawing, and they can visualize it. So, I do sell more drawings, and that's fine. You can take those into sheet clay prints. You can make more money from them. But actually, even with that, I started thinking, actually, these are really lovely drawings, and if you really want it, then you've got to pay for it. So
yes, good.
So I have put more work on it.
Carole. Charge the right
price. Yeah.
Absolutely. So how much would something like that be then? That ring, how much do you think? Yeah.
That one, I've put a price on at 650.
That still seems
Yeah,
ridiculously cheap to me. I've got to be completely brutally honest. I just think that for the amount of work and the uniqueness,
because the frame won't be cheap. No, the frame won't be cheap on it.
I was expecting you to say several thousand pounds.
I need a Leslie. Leslie.
Everybody needs a Leslie, but I was expecting you to say several thousand. I wasn't expecting you to say 650. That makes it very accessible. But is it accessible because it's work that requires an intelligence, someone to approach it with intelligence, and you're not making many of them.
No, exhausting.
You haven't got enough life.
No,
to make that many of them. I think we'll have a chat about that later. That's for a later time. We'll have a chat about that. You
drawings,
you talked briefly about people who have inspired you. Is there anyone particularly who inspires you, past or present, dead or alive?
It has to be David Hockney, because I just love the way he talks about his work. And right from when I was in my 20s, I just thought he is so inspiring. So it is David Hockney. And also, I just love his drawings. He has got such a talent with his drawing. He can make one line say something. And I think that's what I've always aspired to do. And my drawings, which we've not really looked at, that is what I try to do. And likewise, the drawings of Van Gogh, I'm not so keen on his paintings. It's the drawings that get me every time with Van Gogh. So those two people. There's been other people. I like Klimt for his landscapes. Again, his portraits are beautiful and lovely, but it is his landscapes that
you can see an essence of Klimt in the feathers, can't you? Definitely, I can see the influence there.
Yeah, and he's not so keen on horizons, and I'm quite interested in that you don't necessarily need her horizon, that it's actually what goes on in that landscape that can be quite interesting. So him, Eva Hess, which was certainly in my early days.
A few people have mentioned Eva Hess, haven't they?
So she was certainly a very early influence, and certainly what got me into using resins and latex and taking work off the wall and hanging it, as did Alexander Calder with his mobiles. That was quite interesting.
Do you still make big pieces? Like, so you were saying earlier about the monoliths. Do you still make those?
No, I wouldn't. I'd love to take these bigger. I'd love to make and do something bigger with them, but I just don't know how to at the moment. It's quite prohibitive with if they've got to be framed. So it would need to be something more of an installation, possibly hanging so it doesn't get knocked, I guess. That would be that would be really interesting. That would be very interesting to do.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Ronnie about it. It was something that I'd really, really love to do. I'd just like to take myself off for 3 or 4 weeks to some amazing place and draw as a landscape, not a town, not a city, but some. I don't know where. I was
going to say, do you know where that might be?
No, still don't, which is probably why I haven't really done anything about it. But I'd really like to have some sort of residency where I could go and do lots and lots of drawing and then make pieces and have an exhibition at the end of it. So I don't know.
Louisa's done a residency. Have you spoken to her about that?
No, I haven't. No.
So Louisa and Leela Godden have done residencies. I'm sure Louisa will be watching. Louisa, contact Carole and tell her about the residencies, because Louisa created quite a lot of work. It was down in the southwest somewhere. I can't remember the details, but it was down in the southwest somewhere, and they created some amazing work as a result of that. And it's
you see, that's what it needs. I think you need to detach yourself from your everyday, and it needs to be somewhere rugged. But I don't think I could cope with it really cold. I don't mind a bit of cold, but not really, really cold. I think.
There you are. She's watching.
Yeah. No, she's watching.
There you are. Brisson's Vior. I don't know whether that's how you pronounce it. In Cornwall, she's saying. Oh, warm Cornwall. There you are. It's in the chat. So
right, I'll have a look back on that then. Yeah.
I think you might quite like that. Have a look at that residency, because I can see she produced a lot of, and correct me if I'm wrong, Louisa, but I think you did quite a lot of birds and wildlife as well as landscapes and such when she was down there with Leela. And Leela is all about the sea. Although in lockdown she's been all about her garden, but normally she's all about her sea. Yeah. What happened in lockdown for you? Did you do anything different?
I did. For the first 4 weeks I found really difficult because Ronnie was continuing going to work, so I just stayed in the garden room and sewed with fabric, not with paper, and made clothes and made things for my granddaughter, and I did some quilt making, and I did all sorts of things that I hadn't done for years. And then Ronnie was put on furlough, and so we started walking much more regularly, and that was when I started drawing again. And those drawings, I've got, I'll spin you around, let me move these. They are what I had on my little video that went out live today, but they're a series of the ones that are hanging, those ones.
Right.
And they're not very big. They're smaller than A4.
It's this set, isn't it, of these?
Really interesting.
Those.
Yeah, really interesting because it's so...
Can you bring those to the camera?
I can.
Bring those up to the camera. Look at these. These are great.
Right. I don't know what 3 these are. Really interesting because not very big. They're not quite A4, and they're just full of stuff.
Have you done them plein air, or have you done them when you've
come back? No, interestingly, I've come back. I had a sketchbook and I was working outside and took photographs, but actually came back and worked in the studio on them. And a paper that I don't normally work with. I normally work with quite a heavy hot press watercolour paper. This is much cheaper, thinner, cartridge. I wasn't precious about it, and they're folded and stabbed, and there's all sorts of. Well, you'd like that. There's writing.
Yeah, there's writing on them. I love all of that.
That's not for everybody to see, though. So that's not that one. Anyway.
We love all the writing. We love to see all the artists' stories written on them.
And they are pencil, but I can see they are quite textural, probably from the back. Yeah, you can feel lots and lots of marks on it. So there's lots of stabs, lots of circles, lots of dots, lots of shapes, and I just have started redrawing these. I've taken them really tiny, lots of really tiny ones of these. So similar sort of views, but that sort of size. And just getting used to drawing them as much as possible. And I'm wondering how much I can take away, how much I can actually start making them abstract. That one's losing more.
So
quite
really,
exciting.
really playing with them.
Yeah, really playing with them. So
They're
these ones,
Carole.
I've loved doing them, and I think it's what kept me sane. I think it did, because it was the same walk.
What would you like to happen to those?
I'd love these. There's 10 of these, and I'd love them to be a set, and I'd love them to go as an exhibition somewhere. But I don't know how. I don't know really how to do that, because that's not ever. I've never ever done that before with a set of drawings. Or I don't know. It's still sort of whizzing around my mind, because I have been wondering whether I redo them and do them small, do I do them big? There's the size. You can't really tell. If you saw that on its own without me next to it, it could be huge. It could be huge, or it could be tiny. So I'm not sure.
I can completely understand that dilemma, because I've seen this dilemma with lots of artists with their lockdown work, because they're a historical record.
They are, they're really
and
different.
To actually sell them would be a bit like that. How much do you put a price on them? Because you can have that. Because they're a historical record. They're almost like you need to kind of keep them and bequeath them to your grandchildren.
Yeah,
don't you?
They've
got plenty.
They've got plenty.
Yeah, this is super cool. I love this.
I'm going to put these back on. Let's put those back on first.
Yeah, then you can hear me.
So that was, again, just lots. And I'm really quite interested to do quite a large number of these, and maybe just take them a bit smaller. But again, some of the marks in these. So these are dip pen and brush and ink and a few marker pens. And
they would look amazing just floated and mounted and framed. Just that, like that set of work would just look stunning. I think they're amazing. Do you, Flick's asking, and that was a question I was going to ask you, do you do open studios in your area?
Yes, we do. Cheltenham Open Studios is every other year. And so, again, when I first moved to Gloucestershire, I got involved in the committee. We've been talking about this, haven't we? How important it is to get involved and meet artists. Yeah, particularly moving. And the girls were older, so I didn't have that school link, and I just came, and so I had to sort of get on and find an artist community.
Yeah.
So yes, open studios, and I used to run it from here, from the studio. I used to live next door to a ceramic artist, and so we would do it together. But when she moved, I don't know, it just felt a bit vulnerable, so I started going down into Cheltenham, and I've been in various setups. So I'm just sort of in negotiation with the curator of it this time to find out where I might be in this next year. Yeah,
so it's 2020. Really different. The next one's 2021. Yeah,
but again, it's just lovely. It's really amazing. And the last 2 years I've been in the print workshop of Sue Brown, a really clever holographic. Yeah, printmaker, and so that's been amazing.
Holographs
really.
are incredible.
Yeah.
We had Brenda Hartill on, as you know, and she's
that's right.
Holographs.
Yeah, she probably knows Sue Brown's work.
I'm sure they know each other. So we have some questions for you. Exciting. We love this bit. We love this bit. So let's see. I don't understand that, Annie.
Annie!
Us fine artists didn't talk to the graphic designers at Maidstone. Oh, she's making a statement on... sorry, I was reading it as a question, but it's not. It's a statement. So it was like, often that happens, and I remember that when I was at college, that I was doing A-level English and history and American history, and we didn't talk to the guys who were doing engineering, and we didn't talk to the people who were doing drama. There's often that divide, isn't there? It's like tribes. It's a tribe.
Definitely,
You're in your tribe.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. So yeah, she's just saying, do you have a daily routine, time in the studio, time outside, social media, etc.? Now that's a really interesting question.
I have this last couple of weeks, because I knew I had to get myself up to levels which Leslie had asked me to do. So I have been very good getting social media.
Such a bossy Bridget.
I know, literally. But I do come out quite early. Ronnie goes to work very early in the morning, and so we just tend to get up together, and I get out here very early and have a good morning's work, and then usually walk, and then whatever needs doing in the afternoon. Yeah.
Do you spend time on your art business? So the business side of your art?
Yes, I do. Before lockdown, it was every Friday. Friday was my admin day. But now I'm trying to do an hour a day. I try to set an hour a day on doing something, either my tax return or bits to do with my tax and anything that I need to do, any bits and bobs, emails, whatever. And I'm trying to carve that in as a new.
Yeah, I think it's really important whether you do it every day or you do it once a week or whatever. That if you're going to be a proper professional working artist, you need to find a space for
definitely.
Professional
it is important. It's just as important as everything else. It
is. Yeah. And as you've said, you've been talking. You've been involved in these groups, etc., etc., and that's definitely, I can see, had quite a dynamic impact on your career trajectory.
Definitely. I mean, Nikki Whitfield, who I know through Open Studios, and another Nikki Seville with the Christian Arts Festival. I mean, they've been so encouraging with what I'm trying to do, and that's what you need. It's a bit like you, Leslie. We all need encouragement. There are always times when we're feeling really down. There are other artists, and I'm not going to mention their names because my artist friends will know who I'm referring to, that you have that coffee with them and you have that, I don't know what I'm doing, and they'll go, yeah, you do this, or they're saying, I don't know what I'm doing. I'll go, yes, you do, you need to do this. And I think artist friends do that for you because you know the ups and downs. Yeah. The friends like these curators, you need those. You need the inspiration from those really top artists. Yeah. Or in my field, I get really excited by textiles, even though I don't work with textiles. I do get really involved with and follow a lot of textile artists.
It's a fine jigsaw of, and you need all of the elements. So it's really important to be respectful of all of those elements, isn't it? Because you need to be a successful anything. We don't do it alone.
Yeah, and I think there are times when they see your work in a slightly different way, and that's always, but then you realise that they're meaning it from a very intelligent way. I've got one friend, and she's a writer, she's a lecturer, and she has written a book, and she wanted it to be illustrated. It's the type of book that would never normally have illustrations in it, but she was very firm that could she have some black and white drawings in it, and that was just such a lovely collaboration. And I didn't see it coming. I didn't see it coming at all. Her work, very good friend, but her work is very different to mine. She's in the academic world. I'm not an academic, and it worked.
And it's amazing.
It was. It was lovely. It's a lovely project to do.
You're both creative.
Yeah.
Just using a different side of your brain to be creative. You're just
So
using
I'm
the
hoping
other,
she's writing.
the other
I'm
muscle.
hoping she's writing another book. You know.
Oh, exciting!
Come on, Janet, get that book written.
So Edith says, is it ordinary paper you stitch on now?
All the feathers that I showed you with the gold on, that is tissue paper, and they are. Oops, nearly pulled that out. They are 3 layers of tissue paper. So those ones, which we were looking at, which are toilet bit on, it is ordinary, acid-free tissue paper. And I use a really fine needle in my sewing machine. I use free embroidery where I don't have the feed pulling it through. I'm actually moving it, so it's light drawing. And I change my needle regularly. I get through loads and loads of machine needles because when they get blunt, and they do get blunt on paper of any thickness, it snaps the thread. So have yourself a stash of machine needles.
Lots of needles.
So it is acid free. The ring is a paper called pergamenta, which is normally used by calligraphy artists. It's very smooth, and I wouldn't want to draw on it, but it holds its shape, and it's a bit like tracing paper in that it's quite manufactured, but it holds its shape and it doesn't flop if humidity gets to it. It keeps its shape. Drawing pergamenta, and it's got a slight parchment look to it, but it hasn't got a parchment.
Where'd you get that from?
I get that at my local art shop in Cirencester, the Colne Gallery.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there you go.
And drawing, I like to draw on either Fabriano Artistico or Saunders Waterford, and they're high white, hot press, heavyweight paper. And it's just beautiful to draw on. And that's what I use for charcoal. You're not meant to use smooth paper for charcoal, apparently. You're meant to use something with a tooth, but I don't. I use really
that's
smooth
a
paper.
Proper artist who's just doing it their own way, experimenting and finding a different way. Yeah. So Vincent's saying, have you thought about entering for the SGFA, the Society of Graphic Fine Art?
I'm going to, because
Good.
You were talking about it.
I was.
So yes, I am going to.
Good.
Yeah, so that's on my list to explore on Monday.
Excellent.
Because I think it's twice a year they take people. Is that right, Vincent?
Yeah.
And the next one is December, I think. Am I right?
Yeah, you can apply to be a member or you can apply to an open.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, connect with Vincent because Vincent's the curator, so he'll tell you. And Felicity and Louisa and several others are all members of the SGFA. So there's lots of pure artists who are in the SGFA. So yeah, just I'll pick their brains and they'll tell you.
Thank you.
All about it. Yes, Charlie, I totally agree with Charlie. You need to charge more for your work. It's exclusive. That's a statement.
Right.
And Annie says, have your girls become artists?
No, they haven't. One organises events for a smart company, and one is a registrar at a local school. So, but they are very particular, and they are very hardworking, and they've got a very good work ethos. So they have learnt something from me.
Good. They're good, an excellent role model. So Fran was just asking, what was the collagraph artist? I'm going to say it properly.
Sue Brown.
Sue Brown.
Sue Brown. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Lovely lady.
That. I need to get some new teeth.
Yeah.
And Vincent, you have to. So he's telling you have to exhibit twice in our national opens before applying to be an associate member. There you are.
Right. I will apply for an open first.
Yes.
And I will get in touch with you, Vincent. Thank you.
Yes. So get in touch with Vincent, and he'll give you all the details. I have loved chatting with you. It's been fascinating. I absolutely love your work. I am a massive fan of your work. I really, really have a yes. You're on my wish list. Is one of those fair rings. I know I've got to
get. Do you know how expensive they are?
I'm going to get in quick before you start talking to that dreadful Leslie woman. That woman, as she's known.
Thank Thank you so much.
I'm going to quickly get in and buy one before you have a chat with her and she tells you to put your prices up, because I know her and she won't stand for any of that. It's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Carole. And I love the drawings as well. And I can't wait to see where else you go, because you've gone such a long way, but there's still an amazing journey there for you. And I just can't, I feel privileged to be watching. Sitting on the sidelines watching, because I think you've got a great, your practice is incredible, and your ethic and how you approach things is incredible, and lots can learn from that approach. And
never stop. Never stop. We all get down, but it's a question of actually just, somebody said that the other day, I don't know who it was now, just keep on showing up. And that's all we can do.
And keep trying. Even, the difference between a success, people often ask me this, and I say the difference between a successful artist and one who isn't successful is attitude.
Yeah, definitely.
It's your attitude. And if you don't get put off, if you just keep getting up and trying and
doing it, I don't know what else I'd do, to be honest. I've not done anything else. I've never done anything else.
Saying yes when you can.
Yes.
And helping and having a really good attitude to life and to everything, then you will get where you're meant to be. And that where you're meant to be is different for everyone, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Definitely.
And as you grow, the where you're meant to be grows as well. So that for me is exciting. It's so exciting. So thank you. I am excited to be an observer of your journey, because I think it's going to continue to be amazing. You're an inspiration. Your work is inspiring.
Thank you for this opportunity.
You're more than welcome. So thank you, everyone, and we will be back tomorrow. As I alluded to earlier, Molly will be back with us tomorrow, because tomorrow is Saturday, isn't it? I haven't got that wrong. I've done so many days now, I don't know what day of the week it is. So tomorrow is Catherine Black and Susan D'Souza. So two completely new artists to Pure. We don't know them, but I can't wait to get to know them. It's so exciting to meet all of these new artists. So thank you. And take a look at Carole's website. I showed you a sneaky peek of it earlier. And get in touch. All right, Carole, thank you so much. You've been a pleasure.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you. We'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, bye for now. Bye.